Adolf Hitler's name is synonymous with the horrors of the Second World War and the Holocaust. He rose from obscurity to lead Germany into an era of destruction, exploiting a nation's fears and resentments. Hitler's story is a warning. Economic hardship, humiliation, and instability can open the door to extremism. He promised national rebirth, but delivered unparalleled suffering and genocide. Understanding his rise is essential, not to admire but to recognize the warning signs of tyranny. Even today, the echoes of his actions remind us of the fragility of democracy. The lesson: remember, learn, and never allow history to repeat itself. After World War I, Germany was left in ruins, its cities shattered, its people demoralized, and its future uncertain. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh terms. Germany was forced to accept blame for the war, pay enormous reparations, and surrender vast territories. These humiliations cut deep, fueling a sense of injustice and national humiliation that would linger for years. Economic catastrophe soon followed. Hyperinflation in 1923 wiped out the life savings of millions, leaving the middle class destitute and desperate. People carried wheelbarrows of worthless money just to buy bread, and families burned banknotes for warmth. The cost of living soared, and hope seemed to vanish overnight. The fledgling Weimar Republic, already fragile, struggled to maintain order. Political violence erupted in the streets as rival factions, communists, nationalists, and paramilitaries, clashed for control. The government appeared weak and divided, unable to protect its citizens or provide stability. Many Germans, battered by crisis after crisis, lost faith in democracy. They longed for a strong leader who could restore order, pride, and a sense of national purpose. The promise of stability became more appealing than the ideals of freedom. Into this chaos stepped Adolf Hitler, a charismatic speaker who offered simple answers to complex problems. He promised to restore Germany's honor and blamed the nation's woes on convenient scapegoats. Hitler's rhetoric targeted the Treaty of Versailles, the so-called November criminals of the Weimar government, and most viciously, the Jews. His speeches were filled with anger, blame, and promises of revenge. For a population battered by loss and humiliation, Hitler's message of revenge and national renewal struck a powerful chord. Crowds gathered to listen, desperate for hope and eager for change. He vowed to tear up the hated treaty, crush Germany's enemies, and restore the nation's greatness. His vision was one of strength, unity, and a return to former glory. For those who had lost everything, homes, jobs, dignity, Hitler's hate-filled rhetoric offered someone to blame and a promise of redemption. The pain of the past made his radical solutions seem not only acceptable, but necessary. In the soil of despair, the seeds of extremism took root. The suffering and anger of ordinary people became fertile ground for dangerous ideas. Hitler was ready to exploit this vulnerability, turning Germany's pain into a powerful force for his own rise to power. In the aftermath of World War I, Germany was a nation in turmoil, its people searching for answers and direction. In 1919, Adolf Hitler joined the small and obscure German Workers' Party, a group with little influence but big ambitions. Hitler quickly rose through the ranks, captivating audiences with his fiery rhetoric and magnetic presence. His speeches drew in crowds, offering them a sense of purpose and belonging during uncertain times. He soon transformed the party, renaming it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party. Hitler introduced powerful new symbols like the swastika and orchestrated dramatic rallies to inspire loyalty and unity. To enforce his vision, he created the SA, a paramilitary wing that used intimidation and violence to silence political opponents and project strength on the streets. Hitler's speeches bypassed reason, tapping into deep-seated anger and frustration. He promised hope to the desperate and scapegoats to the resentful, stirring powerful emotions in his listeners. By 1923, emboldened by his growing following, Hitler attempted a coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch. The failed uprising landed him in prison, where he wrote Mein Kampf. In this book, he laid out his racist, expansionist vision for Germany's future, blaming Jews and other groups for the nation's problems. After his release, Hitler shifted tactics, seeking power through legal means. The Great Depression devastated Germany, leaving millions unemployed and desperate, and Hitler seized the moment to exploit their fears and frustrations. As faith in moderate parties collapsed, many Germans turned to radical solutions, searching for someone who could restore order and pride. Nazi propaganda blanketed the country, promising action, unity, and easy answers. The party offered scapegoats for Germany's woes, fueling division and hatred. By 1932, the Nazis had become the largest party in the Reichstag, their message resonating with millions. Hitler's blend of relentless propaganda, orchestrated violence, and personal charisma had built a powerful movement, ready to seize control. The stage was set for Hitler's next fateful move, one that would change the course of history forever. In January 1933, conservative elites believed they could control Adolf Hitler by appointing him Chancellor of Germany. They saw him as a useful tool to stabilize the country and suppress left-wing movements, never imagining he would soon outmaneuver them all. But within weeks, the Reichstag fire provided Hitler with the perfect pretext to suspend civil liberties, arrest political opponents, and silence dissent. The atmosphere of fear and chaos allowed him to act swiftly and ruthlessly. The passing of the Enabling Act in March 1933 handed Hitler dictatorial powers, effectively ending democracy in Germany. Parliament had voted away its own authority, giving Hitler the legal means to rule by decree. Hitler wasted no time. He banned all other political parties, dissolved trade unions, and crushed any form of organized opposition. Soon, every institution, schools, courts, and the civil service fell under Nazi control, ensuring that no one could challenge his authority. Yet a final threat remained from within his own ranks, the powerful SA paramilitary, whose leaders demanded more radical change. In June 1934, during the Night of the Long Knives, Hitler ordered a brutal purge of the SA leadership and other rivals, eliminating opposition and winning the army's trust. When President Hindenburg died in August 1934, Hitler merged the offices of President and Chancellor, declaring himself Führer and absolute leader of Germany. The German military now swore a personal oath of loyalty to Hitler alone, cementing his grip on power. In just 18 months, Hitler had dismantled the Weimar Republic, destroyed democracy, and established a totalitarian regime that would shape the fate of Europe. The machinery of the Nazi state was now fully in his hands, with every aspect of German life subject to his will and ideology. Germany's fate, and soon the world's, was sealed by the ambition and ruthlessness of a single man. The consequences of Hitler's rise would plunge the world into unprecedented destruction and suffering. With absolute power, Hitler revived Germany's economy through public works and rearmament, winning popular support. Beneath the surface, every policy aimed at preparing for war. Hitler violated the Treaty of Versailles, secretly rebuilding the military. He tested Europe's resolve, remilitarizing the Rhineland, annexing Austria, and seizing the Sudetenland. Britain and France, hoping to avoid conflict, appeased him at every turn. Each success emboldened Hitler, confirming his belief that the democracies were weak. By 1939, he was ready to gamble everything on war. The world stood on the brink. Hitler's next target was Poland. In August 1939, he signed a pact with Stalin, dividing Eastern Europe. On September 1st, Germany invaded Poland. World War II had begun. Blitzkrieg tactics crushed Poland in weeks. Britain and France declared war, but could not help. Hitler's armies swept through Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France in rapid succession. By summer 1940, only Britain stood defiant. The Battle of Britain raged in the skies, but the RAF held firm. Frustrated, Hitler turned east, launching Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Union in 1941. He believed victory would be swift, but the war would become a brutal, grinding conflict. Hitler's quest for domination plunged Europe into chaos. The cost in human lives was only beginning. Alongside military conquest, Hitler unleashed a campaign of terror against Jews and other targeted groups. The Nuremberg laws stripped Jews of rights. Kristallnacht signaled open violence. With war, persecution escalated, ghettos, mass shootings by Einsatzgruppen, and ultimately the final solution. Extermination camps like Auschwitz became factories of death. 6 million Jews and millions of others were murdered in the Holocaust. This industrialized genocide remains history's darkest chapter. The Nazi regime showed how hatred, when given state power, can lead to unimaginable evil. The world would never be the same. Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union marked the beginning of his downfall. Early victories gave way to disaster at Moscow and Stalingrad, where the German army was shattered. Meanwhile, Hitler declared war on the United States, uniting the world's greatest powers against him. The Allies advanced on all fronts: North Africa, Italy, and, after D-Day, France. Allied bombers devastated German cities. The Red Army pushed relentlessly west. By late 1944, Germany was surrounded and collapsing. Hitler, isolated in his bunker, refused to accept defeat, lashing out at real and imagined enemies. Even assassination attempts failed to stop him. The Third Reich was doomed, but the suffering was not yet over. The end was near. In 1945, as Berlin fell, Hitler ordered total destruction. His love was for power, not Germany. The city was defended by old men and children as the Soviets closed in. In his bunker, Hitler married Eva Braun, dictated his final testament, and then took his own life. A week later, Germany surrendered. The 1,000-year Reich had lasted just 12 years. Europe lay in ruins, millions were dead. Hitler's rise and fall is a warning. Democracy is fragile, and hatred can destroy nations. We must remember, challenge intolerance, and defend human rights. To forget is to risk repeating history's darkest hour.